Hello, television family. Good to see you again. Back at it. We're here. We're working hard. Yeah, we're going to work hard. Something we usually don't do, especially on Tuesdays. 13th day of February 2024. I am Dan Kuntz. We have a few high clouds right at the 32-degree mark. Pretty nice day today. Quite a bit of sunshine, a little late afternoon winds, and then a pretty robust system. Going to pay us a visit tomorrow afternoon. Going to slide on into Thursday. A couple of inches of snow. Wednesday night into Thursday, it's still the middle of February, even though the days are getting longer. It's an active weather forecast once we get to tomorrow afternoon anyway. And into the weekend, those details always take first priority, and they will do so again today with your weather forecast. We will have the news. It is Election Day. Pretty quiet around here. Of course, the big one is the $117 million bond that the Eastmont School District would like to see passed. Needs a 60% supermajority. Not a big turnout right now in Douglas County for the entire county. Right now, it's less than 28% turnout. It's the turnout that doesn't matter. It's they just need to get that 60% supermajority. If only 10 people turn out and 6 vote yes, that counts. But we shall see. We will post results, by the way, as soon as they're available to us, probably 9 o'clock or so tonight. But it is Election Day. Don't forget if you haven't gotten your ballot turned in. In sports, Kraken. If the playoffs started today, first of all, that would be really weird because it's the middle of February, but they would be out of the playoffs. They have hit a real cold patch. Last night, New Jersey was no exception. Highlights, if you will. And we'll have the latest scores as we now know the final lineup for the Columbia Basin Big Nine Boys and Girls District Championships. Wenatchee and Sunnyside girls had to play each other last night in Quincy to determine the 6th and final seed. We'll have that information for you. And the back half of the program, our good friend Jefferson Robbins, our news director, had a very fascinating conversation with Anna Maria Spagna. She is a prize-winning author. She teaches at Wenatchee Valley College, and she wrote a fascinating book about a rather dark part of the history of North Central Washington. Jefferson got a copy of the book, and he had to sit down and talk with Anna Maria, and we will have that conversation for you in the back half of the program. We shall begin our tour, where we always do, with our camera at Wenatchee Heights. You can see the high clouds, days continuing. In fact, this is kind of a strange weather anomaly. Exactly to the second, 10 hours and 11 minutes of daylight. 10 hours and 11 minutes exactly of daylight today. The sunrise is still not officially here. 7:10 this morning, about 7 minutes from now, if you're watching this live show. Sunset tonight, 5:21. Normal high this time of the year is 41. We got to 48 yesterday. We popped way up there, which was above our forecast high. Slightly cooler today, but more sunshine. We did get that late afternoon sunshine. The sun will be popping out a little bit earlier in the day today. Then the clouds will be thickening up, and as I mentioned before, we have a chance of snow Wednesday night into Thursday. Let's check out the Waterville camera. Looking pretty good this morning, yeah. Looking down towards the Wenatchee Valley, it looks like you can see the snow line. From the Waterville camera, we flip that baby around. You can see Waterville. You go 180 degrees the other way, and that is the view that you get all the way down to the valley and Mission Ridge from our camera way up on the Waterville Plateau. The Rock Island camera looks good today. You feel like 3-putting? Course has got to be open. I mean, right now it's freezing, so it's a little chilly, but it'll warm up nicely, and you can probably get in at quick 18 this afternoon at the Rock Island Golf Course. Good morning to Rock Island, Malaga on the other side of the river. Beautiful view there. And Billy Goat is always a charming camera, and today is no exception. Good morning to our friends up to the north, the Methow emptying into the Columbia, which eventually empties into the Pacific Ocean, which doesn't empty into anything. If it did, I would be really freaked out. As we see the mountains way off into the distance, you can even, if you stand on your tiptoes, see Canada from our Billy Goat camera high above Alta Lake. A couple of slides from the National Weather Service. Little breezy at times today. We're kind of sandwiched between two systems. There's a high-pressure ridge to the north of us and a low-pressure ridge to the south of us. And they're going to kind of mix things up just a little bit. Not real windy, at least here in the Wenatchee Valley, but it could get a little breezy at times. It's also going to bring in some pretty cool air once we get to tomorrow. We're going to have a very large temperature drop between our high today and our high on Wednesday, and we are in for the possibility of snow, a couple of inches maybe, in the Wenatchee Valley. And this is the system that's poised to pay us a visit. It's the high pressure ridge. It's to the north, it's northwest. It's going to start sliding to the southeast, and that could bring us some light snow to the area and some pretty good snow on Stevens Pass, about 5-6 inches. I-90 is going to get a dose of snow. Most of the snow in the mountains are going to be to the south of us. White Pass, for instance, is going to get a little bit more snow than, say, Stevens, but A little dusting here in the Wenatchee Valley, certainly not out of the question, and we are going to cool down quite a bit. From the National Weather Service, here's what we're talking about. Sunshine, quite a bit of it all day today. Get out and enjoy because we're not going to see it for a while. High today of 43, 29 for the overnight low tonight. The clouds will be thickening up while you're asleep. You're going to wake up tomorrow to clouds, and you're going to deal with clouds all day Wednesday with a high of 36. And then we start talking snow late in the afternoon, Wednesday into Wednesday night. Chance of snow at about 40%. A little chilly, 28 for the overnight low. So overnight Wednesday night, maybe an inch, and then an additional ½ inch to an inch possible early Thursday morning. And look at the temperature dropping like a rock from 43 to 35 in 48 hours, again with a chance of light snow. Friday we warm up a little bit. Snow will be gone. Johnson, high of about 39. Slight chance of rain. Into the weekend we go. For some people it is a holiday weekend. Monday is President's Day, so we'll take you to the weekend. Saturday, snow level is going to start out at 1,500 feet. That's down here, but it's eventually going to get up to 2,200 feet in the afternoon. There's just a slight chance of some wet stuff and a high of 42 on Saturday. Saturday night, snow level goes right around 2,600 feet, not going to go anywhere. 34 for the overnight low, and then we wrap up the weekend with a high of 44. Snow level going back up to about 3,500 feet, and on the holiday, about 46. We'll warm back up again. So we're going to be a little bit on the roller coaster. Big cool down coming up. Again, overnight snow Wednesday into Thursday morning. An inch anyway, possibly even 2. At your forecast, grab your cup of coffee, come right back. We'll do the news. You're watching the Tuesday edition of Wake Up Wenatchee Valley on the NCW Life channel.
A ductless unit from Carrier can keep anyone comfortable. Take Shelly, for instance. She finds me time in her new attic-turned-home gym. And with her Carrier ductless unit, the temperature is always perfect. No matter how intense her workout gets. Carrier. Total comfort, totally happy.
Turn to the experts, Carrier and Alpine Air. Heat and air, call Alpine Air.
Come see how very different you will feel in your Bullfrog Spa.
Global Car Care has the best customer service in the Valley. From the moment you walk in the door, their goal is to help you stay on the road, so you can keep doing what's important to you. Global Car Care certified ASE mechanics stand behind your automotive repairs.
Are you hungry enough to eat the end out of a rhinoceros? I know how you feel. Come on out to Blueberry Hills. You'll have a great time. We've got excellent food, a feet on the furniture kind of experience, and we won't hustle you out of your table. If you want a real farm experience, make the trek to Manson to Blueberry Hills, where you sit, you pick, you eat, and you visit. So come on out and see what all the fuss is about. Blueberry Hills in Manson. It's where the world is coming to.
That's a good-looking sunrise. 33 degrees. Will be 43, 44 with bountiful sunshine for the most part. Last really nice day of the week. Big cool down coming. Some snow overnight Thursday into Friday. A gradual rebound, but Mother Nature is reminding us it is still the middle of February. It's also 10 minutes after the hour, and it's time to turn in your ballot. If you haven't done so already, it's election day. If it snuck up on you, well, here it is. Special election day. Special election day is today. There are several school levies and one construction bond on the ballot. in our viewing area. In Cashmere, Antiana, and Lake Chelan, those school districts are all having an EP&O levy that provides funds for programs that the state does not fund. Additionally, in Lake Chelan, that school district is also looking to pass a capital technology replacement levy that would fund needs like Chromebook replacements and security cameras. And of course, the big one is the Eastmont School District. They need a 60% supermajority because it's a bond. It's a $117 million bond. If passed, it would modernize 3 of their elementary schools and upgrade security measures around the Eastmont School District. You got until 8 o'clock to get your ballot in tonight. A popular Wenatchee restaurant suffered smoke damage in an early morning fire over the weekend. It was a small fire on Saturday morning. The Wenatchee Valley Fire Department said the fire alarm went off at about 5:35 Saturday morning at Sumu Restaurant. That's in the Harley Center on North Wenatchee Avenue. The building was unoccupied. The fire suppression system contained the fire, and then crews showed up and got it out altogether. But managers say the sushi restaurant will have to remain closed until further notice. They got to renovate it. The cause of the fire, by the way, remains under investigation. A Wenatchee firm has been hired to create a plan to stabilize the slopes of the Columbia River near Harley Park. On the south end of town, the slopes are in trouble. The Wenatchee City Council on Thursday approving Pacific Engineering and Design. It's a $45,000 project. The riverbank by the city park has badly eroded over the years, some of it due to habitation by homeless people digging temporary shelters. City Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Services Director Dave Erickson says with a plan in hand, the real work would commence in 2025 or 2026.
We have steep slopes, we've got invasive species, we've got some natural and man-made instability on the slopes down there. And over the last couple of years, it's really grown to be prone for debris, different debris, vandalism, that type of thing. Kind of the goals of that project are to restore the landscape, to create a shoreline stabilization plan to address erosion, as well as creating a planting plan that addresses the invasive species and plant some additional species that are better to maintain the slope and improve the habitat down in that area.
Chelan-Douglas Port Commissioner J.C. Baldwin has been unanimously approved to serve on the State Transportation Commission. The State Senate confirming Baldwin's appointment yesterday. They did it unanimously, by the way. She was appointed to the commission last July by Governor Jay Inslee. Now, the State Senate has to vote to confirm such appointments, but commissioners are allowed to begin their service before confirmation takes place. When she was appointed back in July, of course, the legislature wasn't in session. Baldwin attended, by the way, her first Transportation Commission meeting back in August. One member of our congressional delegation in Washington, D.C. is a little curious about what exactly the Postal Service wants to do with its mail handling centers. In Wenatchee and Yakima, Representative Dan Newhouse sent a letter last week to the Postmaster General of the United States, Louis DeJoy, asking for clarification on the agency's plans. The Postal Service announced back in November that most residential mail originating from Wenatchee will be processed in Spokane. Similar changes are in store for Yakima mail users. Newhouse's letter asks several questions about the process for taking public comment on the move, and they also asks for assurance that mail-in ballots will remain secure and get to voters on time. The congressman says he's ready to meet with the Postal Service whenever they're ready to meet with him. And finally, on this Tuesday morning, Brookside Funeral Home and Crematory officially opened in January as the only non-consolidated funeral home in the Wenatchee Valley. NCW Live caught up with funeral home director Jamin Moeller to discuss the decision to open Brookside here in Wenatchee.
Brookside Funeral Home and Crematory is a full-service funeral home. So our funeral home in Wenatchee is full service, as well as having our own crematory in-house. We have definitely seen a trend towards more cremation than ground burials. I think the need is still there for memorialization. So services and customized celebration of life, those kind of services are still something we perform frequently. So Brookside Funeral Home has 3 locations. Moxie, which is near Yakima, Ellensburg, and now here in Wenatchee. The question is whether or not we are the only unconsolidated funeral home in the valley, and that is a resounding yes. We are, and that is why we opened a funeral home in Wenatchee, because all of the funeral homes from Brewster to Chelan to Wenatchee to East Wenatchee, even down to Quincy and Moses Lake, and are all a part of a larger common ownership. I think it's important for the Wenatchee Valley to know that they have a new option, right? Like we have not been here for 100 years. We are probably not top of mind. When they think funeral home in Wenatchee, Brookside's probably not the first thing on their mind because we've only been here for a month and a half, right? But if we can let the viewers know that they now have an option. There are other funeral homes in town that share common ownership. And then there is Brookside, who just started a month and a half ago because we saw a need for a second option in this valley. So we are all about family. Every funeral home that we have, Moxie, Ellensburg, and now in Wenatchee, we have immediate family living in that town. So our daughter, Mahala, serves as the funeral director here in Wenatchee, and she lives in Wenatchee. And we believe that if we can maintain our small business, family-focused, community-minded approach, that will both serve the communities well and the families that we care for. Why did I become a funeral director? Because I didn't have a choice. Funeral service chose me, right? Like, I want to care for families. I want to be here for families in crisis. We deal with families every day on the worst day of their life. And they need somebody sitting across the room from them that cares about them and doesn't see them as dollars and cents, but sees them as like a grieving family that we can make a difference in. That's why. So the competitive advantage of funeral service, we all offer the same thing, right? All funeral homes bury, all funeral homes cremate, all funeral homes do what funeral homes do. What makes Brookside unique is that we are a very relational funeral home. So we're connected with the chamber and with law enforcement and with the coroner's office and with hospice nurses and hospice staff, right? Like, the business model of Brookside is to maintain a small atmosphere where we can care for families directly. So as far as the competitive, what are funeral homes doing different? I would say the business model is what makes a difference. Are you a large conglomerate or are you small town, family-focused funeral home? Our ribbon cutting is scheduled for Tuesday, February 13th from 4 to 5 here at 201 North Mission Street in downtown Wenatchee. We expect a lot of folks here from our state association, from local dignitaries, community members, families we've served. We'll have a catered hors d'oeuvres and a finger food light reception, and anticipate it going beyond 5. We say 4 to 5, but I anticipate us to be here as long as folks will visit with us.
And that is a look at the news on this Tuesday. We will have the news for you, of course, tonight, as we always do, at 5, 6, and 10 with Grant Olson. And I'll be handling sports for the time being. Get well soon, Eric. He's getting there, folks. Keep your fingers crossed. So the news tonight at 5, 6, and 10. And a friendly reminder, we got high school basketball tonight. Big 9 playoff basketball, boys basketball. Moses Lake in town to take on Eastmont. We'll have that on our Facebook page. Our Facebook page tonight at 6 o'clock. It'll be on television at 7 o'clock. So the news tonight at 5, 6, and 10 with Grant. And I'll try to tackle sports the best I can. And get a hold of us, news@ncwlife.com, or if you haven't downloaded our app yet, that's how you go about doing it. That's called the QR code. And what does QR stand for? I don't know. Something cool. Okay, when we come back, sports. You're watching Wake Up Wenatchee Valley on the NCW Life channel.
Now there are even more reasons to meet at the Pybus Market. Outdoor dining and tastings, the fabulous farmers market, Saturday artisans on the concourse, and your favorites all week long. No matter the reason, it's always time to meet at the Pybus Market. Pybus Market, where community meets.
Highlander Golf Course is proud to announce their 2 new state-of-the-art full-swing golf simulators with over 80 courses of virtual golf to choose from year-round. Or try their Laser Shot simulated firearm program, or gaming with football, basketball, and much more. Enjoy Highlander food and drink service from their full-service bar and grill in the comfort of their simulator room. Call the Highlander Pro Shop to book your time at 884-4653. That's 884-4653.
Now's the time to get a great deal on select Kubota equipment. Part of the #1 rated tractor brand for durability and owner experience in the U.S., they offer the versatility and reliability to get the job done right all year round. Right now, bring home select BX and L Series tractors for 0 down, 0% APR for 72 months. Contact your Kubota dealer for details.
Most of us are in touch with the internet in one way or another all day long. A fast, secure connection matters. It keeps us entertained, informed, and in touch. Local cares about your connection. We know strong, reliable internet with your choice of speed makes life better. If you need fast, reliable internet, or maybe an upgrade, or you just have questions, connect with us by visiting localtel.com or call 509-888-8888 today.
The day after I met her, I called and asked her to go on a date with me, and we came to Abby's Pizza for our first date.
Eating it across from each other, I'll never forget it. This place is special.
It's barbecue chicken pizza season at Abby's Legendary Pizza, baby. Featuring our flavorful pizza sauce and a 3-cheese blend, layered with BBQ sauce, chicken, and onions. Order your hot and fresh feast now at abbys.com. A legendary pizza tradition.
22 minutes after the hour, Nico Dawes made 27 saves. Unfortunately, Nico Dawes is the goalkeeper for New Jersey. The Devils beating Seattle 3-1 last night, handling the Kraken their third straight loss. Tyler Toffoli and Dawson Mercer also scored for New Jersey. New Jersey, by the way, sweeps the 2-game season series with the Kraken.
So oftentimes it's an early change or something like that. This was 2 guys went on, only 1 guy came off, and they kept on playing. Here's Jack Hughes accelerating ahead. Hughes in the slot, works it wide. He-shirt sets up to Foley, a lot of space. He uncorks. It's the cross that goes in. Tyler Toffoli scores. It's a power play goal.
Said that initially that they've got to capitalize here. And this all starts with the zone entry from Jack Hughes flying out of his own zone. And there's Tyler Toffoli, high slot. He just winds up half a shot and lets her fly. Ends up going off the right skate of Tanev, changes direction off the post and in.
The other 5 defensemen for Seattle going to have to play a ton of minutes here down the stretch. Devils see if they can maybe take advantage of Seattle down to 5 defensemen. Eric Holla with a takeaway. He sends it down low to Jack Hughes. Side door and in! Jack Hughes bangs it in off Joey Decord. It's 2-0.
In his bag of tricks. Time now for our $1 million replay, brought to you by the New Jersey Lottery. Remember, anything can happen in Jersey. It all starts with a takeaway in the neutral zone, turnover, and our Eric Holla creates it. And Jack Hughes right below the goal line banks it off.
Again, I'm going to say it again. You're seeing Seattle, right? This is dumping it in. Got to be cautious.
Here comes Meyer. He steps past Evans. His shot's denied. Rebound. Score! Dawson Mercer puts it in. And it's 3-0.
Off of Dawes, puck stays in the blue paint, but the Devils are able to quickly get it up ice in transition. And there's the pass to Meyer, gets in behind the defense.
Being fair, even those 13 shots, a lot of them have not been high quality. The Devils still forcing those to come from sharper angles or from the outside.
Well, that's the biggest difference that, we're all seeing here is like, look, teams are going to have pushes. They're going to create offensive zone.
Here's a look right now. Borgen, and he puts it in. So with 10 minutes to go in the third period, one of those Seattle pushes leads to a goal.
And it gets wide open, and the Devils just miss blocking this pass. It's going to come right here where Seattle does a good job finding it. The little reach there up top, and who was that? Holtz just misses it. Yeah, Holtz just misses right there, poking that puck away. That allows Borgen to have plenty of time, head up all the way, and he beats Nico Dawes in that.
A bit of a barrage the last couple of minutes from Seattle.
Dano, how did Dawsey look? Like, how quick did he look moving laterally from up there?
Yeah, it's smooth, right?
Turned over to the front, and Dawes is there again. Lazar wins the face-off. Comes to the slot. Here's a rip high and wide by Bjorkstrand. Lazar clears it down, and the Devils play a full 60 once again.
Seattle is now 3-7-1 in their last 11 games with 30 games to go in the regular season. Right now, they're out of the playoff picture. Afterwards, as you might imagine, the locker room was a pretty glum place.
I don't think so. I think we all know how to play. We just didn't come prepared.
I think regardless where the standings are, I think we just have to focus on our game, and I think we just gotta, like I said, it's a test for us, you know, in terms of adversity, in terms of character, how we're going to respond to it, and I think it's a good opportunity for us, so we just got to focus it one game at a time and take it from there.
No, game two, no, we're not resting on that crutch tonight. Game two, it's, you know, that's on, you know, utter readiness, compete, ready to go, and like I said, for the first 35 minutes of this hockey game, we weren't at a level that's acceptable, and that takes us out of the game.
Kraken continue their East Coast road trip, no rest. They turn right around and play the Islanders tonight at 4:30 on Root Sports. All right, high school basketball. They had to play a play-in game last night in Quincy, and the Sunnyside Grizzlies got the best of the Wenatchee girls, 63-39. So the Wenatchee girls season comes to an end, and in CWAC action, it was Ephrata girls over Grandview, 58-42. So now we're set. Who plays who? I'll tell you right now, in the Columbia Basin Big 9 Girls District Playoffs, it will be Sunnyside at West Valley tonight at 6 o'clock. Win, you move on. Lose, you're done. And Eisenhower will be at Moses Lake also at 6 o'clock. And, of course, the Eastmont Lady Wildcats will take on Davis in Yakima Friday at 6 o'clock for the District 6 Championship. In the boys district playoffs in the Big 9, it is Moses Lake at Eastmont tonight at 6 o'clock. We will have that game streaming on our Facebook page at 6 o'clock on a 1-hour tape delay on television at 7 o'clock right here on the NCW Live channel. Eisenhower will take on Sunnyside in the other first round game. West Valley and Davis have already punched their tickets. They'll play for the championship in Yakima on Thursday. And real quick, in CWAC action tonight in boys basketball, Ephrata will be at Sela at 6 o'clock and Ellensburg at East Valley also at 6 o'clock, as the teams are either in the playoffs or in the last week of the regular season. And those are just some of the games that people are playing. At 28 minutes after the hour, happy Fat Tuesday for you people who celebrate Carnival or Mardi Gras, if you will. It's International Natural Day. It's Kiss Day, if you want to rock and roll all night and party every day. It's the Lunar New Year, by the way, the year of the dragon. I was born in the year of the dragon. Don't know what that means. It's Safer Internet Day. It's National Tortellini Day. It's National Cheddar Day. It's World Radio Day. Shout out to my friends in radio. Of course, I was in radio for a long time. Radio was having some issues even before COVID, but COVID really smacked the radio industry upside the head. Broadcast, anyway, terrestrial radio. They've had a tough go of it the last 5-6 years. So a little shout out, a little love to our friends in radio. Give them some love. They could use it today on World Radio Day. But today is Get a Different Name Day. You don't like your name that your folks give you, and most of us, our parents named us. If you don't like your name, doesn't suit you, today's the day to change it. You can do that here. In this country, I've never really disputed it. I'm pretty happy with my name. You don't have any say in it anyway. The popularity of different names, gender names, have changed a lot over the years. In 1971, David was the most popular name in 1971. Now it's the 30th most popular name. A long time ago, the most popular name was Jessica. Jessica's not even in the top 50 now. It's hard to believe. In fact, here they are, the top 5 popular names, according to the internet. It was on the internet, so it has to be true. It's the law. Top 5 most popular girls' names. Number 5, Sophia. Number 4, Amelia. Number 3, Charlotte. Number 2, Emma. Number 1, Olivia. And the 5 most popular boy names, Elijah. Number 5. Number 4, James. Number 3, Oliver. Number 2, Noah. And the most popular current baby name out there is Liam. And by the way, experts say there are about 5,000 people whose first and last names are identical. Exactly identical. Like John and Ralph and people like that. Their legal name is exactly the same, first and last. If you don't like your name, today's the day to change your name. Keep in mind, it's a lot of paperwork. It's the bottom of the hour. Today in history, 3 years after Charles Lindbergh's baby was kidnapped at their house in New Jersey, eventually found dead a couple of months later. The trial took a long, it was a bizarre investigation. You have to read up on it. A lot of weird people got involved in this thing, but they finally arrested Bruno Hopton, and a jury on this date in 1935, 89 years ago today, a jury in Flemington, New Jersey found Bruno Hopton guilty of kidnapping and murder of the Lindbergh baby. He was sentenced to die. He was executed. Most experts, going back and looking at all the evidence, agree on two things: that he did, in fact, participate in the kidnapping of the Lindbergh baby, that he actually did the kidnapping, but the death of the Lindbergh baby was probably accidental. May have dropped the baby when they were getting off the ladder from the nursery room or sometime. The murder was probably accidental. Didn't matter to Bruno Hopton. He ended up going to the electric chair. That was on this date, 1935. Been a while since we checked in with my favorite vice president, Spiro T. Agnew. It's 1971. It's the first round of the Bob Hope Desert Classic in Palm Springs. Spiro Agnew was playing with Bob Hope. He was playing with Willie Mays, and he was playing with Doug Sanders, the defending champion. First tee, first round. At the Bob Hope Desert Classic, and the Vice President of the United States shanks his first tee shot and hits not one but two people. A husband and wife. A 66-year-old man and his wife were both hit by his first tee shot. He got in the golf cart and they ran him down there. Oh, I'm so sorry. And consoled them, took time to apologize, and they got back into the cart, and Agnew went back out to the first tee, teed it up again, and shanked his second tee shot and hit an elderly woman in the ankle, and she was taken to the hospital for x-rays. So if you're keeping track at home, that's 2 shots, 3 people hit. I've played worse as well, but it's always good to check in with Spiro T. Agnew. And 45 years ago today, this ain't supposed to happen. You remember the huge windstorm of February 13th, 1979? Well, it sank the Hood Canal Bridge. The bridge was built in 1961. It was doing okay, but 90-mile-an-hour sustained winds through the Hood Canal, gusts over 120 miles an hour. In the early morning hours, they said this isn't good. They closed the bridge. They opened up the draw span to relieve some of the pressure off the bridge. They got everybody off the bridge, and half of it went bloop right into the canal. It sunk. There used to be a ferry service. The bridge was built in 1961, so they got rid of the ferry service, which wasn't too far from where the bridge was built. So they had to redo a temporary ferry service. It's a 50-mile detour without the Hood Canal Bridge. They rebuilt the bridge. It took them 3 years to do it. In the meantime, they brought in a short little ferry service. The problem for the Washington State Department of Transportation, when they quit the ferry service after the bridge was built in 1961, they didn't own the land anymore. They sold the land off, and then they had to go back and buy the land again. And anyway, ouch. It was on this date, 1979. Let's do some birthdays. 2 heavenly birthdays. Normally don't do first ladies. Going to make an exception for Bess Truman, the wife of Harry Truman. She is the longest lived first lady in history by far. She lived almost 98 years. She lived 97 years and 247 days. She had the impossible task of succeeding Eleanor Roosevelt as the First Lady of the United States. She hated Washington, D.C. She didn't like the political life. She didn't like the social life. She went back to her home in Independence, Missouri, every chance she got to visit her mother, Margaret. When Harry, her husband, kicked around the idea of running for re-election in 1952, she basically put her foot down and said, "You do it, Harry. You're going to do it without me." He said, "Fine, that's fine." And poor Bess Truman's mother, Margaret, Harry Truman's mother-in-law, always thought that Margaret could do better. Always thought that Bess, her daughter, could do better. She never cared for her son-in-law, Harry Truman, who became the President of the United States. In fact, Bess Truman's mother was the daughter of the Confederacy. She was born in the Civil War. She didn't like Abraham Lincoln. Whenever she visited her daughter and son-in-law at the White House, she refused to sleep in the Lincoln bedroom, and she bad-mouthed Harry every chance she got. But Harry was a good son-in-law, never said a word. Bess Truman, born in the state in 1885. Robert Jackson, one of the greatest writers in the history of the Supreme Court. His opinions are very readable. He wrote them not only for lawyers and judges, but he wrote them for the general public. The guy was a great writer. He is the only man in history to serve as the Solicitor General of the United States, the Attorney General of the United States, and on the Supreme Court of the United States. And to date, he is the last Supreme Court justice who never got a law degree. You don't need to be a lawyer. The president can nominate anybody he wants to serve on the United States Supreme Court. Of course, the Senate has to say yes. Robert Jackson, born in the state in 1892, and Mike Krzyzewski, 5 NCAA championships with Duke, second all-time only to John Wooden. 13 Final Fours is most of any coach in history, and of course, the most victories in men's college basketball history. He's 77 years old today. Special thanks to Alpine Air, our platinum sponsor for heat and air. Call Alpine Air, our good friends. Also special thanks to Pool to Spa Services down there on Worthen Street, right across the street from our friends at the Pybus Puppet Market. Pool to Spa Services, one of our gold sponsors. And finally, special thanks to Prestige Senior Living at Colonial Vista. Still to come, an opinion from Mike Mad Dog Mignotti. It's about fast food advertising. Mike thinks you're being misled. And then a fascinating conversation. Her name is Anna Maria Spagna. She's an instructor at Wenatchee Valley College, and she just wrote a book about a fascinating and somewhat difficult chapter in the history of North Central Washington that you might not be aware of. Her conversation with Jefferson Robbins is next. You're watching a Tuesday edition of Wake Up Wenatchee Valley on the NCW Live channel.
In Digital Media Arts program, we learn about video production gear and editing by the combination of class projects and nonprofit work and employment.
It makes things happen.
Yeah.
It's pretty magical.
We work in the industry at the Wenatchee Round, NCW Live channel, and the Town Toyota Center events. Every day we work with industry standard equipment for a hands-on learning experience.
Hi folks, welcome to Save Mart. How can we help you today?
We're looking for a recliner.
Okay, right this way. Go ahead and move this chase on the other side. You can just
Great, I want that one. I like that one.
That's a great choice.
And I want this one as well.
Okay.
And I definitely want this one.
You'll find it at Save Mart. Full service at a low, low price.
Check out ClubProCashmere.com for upcoming events and tickets.
Hey, this is Mike Mad Dog Magnotti, and everybody is entitled to my opinion. Now, you know these commercials for fast food, Subway, Burger King, Jersey Mike's, you know, the way their sandwiches look in the commercials are amazing, aren't they? Makes your mouth water, and you want to run right out and order one. And when you do, and you take it out of the packaging, it looks like something your Aunt Bertha sat on. And now you wonder, my gosh, is this the same thing I saw advertised? Now look, I know it's okay. I know it's fast food. And I know, yeah, they spend lots of time and money setting up their ads, not time that they spend when they put the sandwiches together at the restaurant. But man, at least try to make the sandwich look like the advertisement. I mean, do you want me to come back or not? You know, how much disappointment am I supposed to live with? This is Mike Mad Dog Magnotti, and that's my opinion.
At Confluence Health, our mission is clear: to provide exceptional care for our community. We believe in healthcare that's personal and local because we're just like you, members of this great community.
We are Confluence.
Local care by and for our community.
Local care by and for our community.
Local care by and for our community.
We are Confluence.
At Local Myth Pizza, we believe in real food, freshly prepared with only premium ingredients. Our cheeses are imported from Italy. Our sauces, dressings, and even our sausages are made in-house fresh daily. Featuring Northwest craft beers and 30 Chelan Valley wines and ciders. Family fun and amazing food. Eat local, drink local, and be local at Local Myth Pizza.
Come see why Sunset Magazine says you can't beat Local Myth Pizza.
When your heating or cooling system is giving you trouble, call the diagnostic doctor from Dick's Heating and Air Conditioning.
Here's the culprit right here.
All joking aside, when you call Dick's, you're calling 35 years of experience at customer service right here in the Wenatchee Valley. Dick's strongly believes in repairing before replacing, and they service all major brands of HVAC units. The Lake Chelan Chamber of Commerce presents Wonders of Wooden Avenue.
Steelhead Cider offers 20 taps with cider, beer, and wine, featuring views of the lake, great music, and fantastic flights. Find it on Wooden Ave behind the bookstore in downtown Chelan.
Kelly's Classic Ace Hardware Store. From the minute you walk through the door, you'll feel the difference. Kelly's revives the days of personal service lost in the big box stores of today. Kelly's Ace Hardware in classic downtown Chelan.
Wonders of Wooden Avenue, North Central Washington's premier shopping district.
Jefferson Robbins with NCW Life. History is written by the winners, but there are some parts of history that just don't seem to get written down at all. Here in North Central Washington, there's local lore that tells us that sometime around 1875, a group of Chinese miners were brutally murdered near Chelan Falls. But who committed that crime, how many victims lost their lives, or whether it even happened at all, remains a question. Ana Maria Spagna decided to investigate that mystery. She's a resident of Stehekin and author of 9 books of essays, fiction, and poetry. The book that resulted from her search is called Pushed: Miners, a Merchant, and Maybe a Massacre. Ana Maria Spagna, welcome to NCW Live.
Thanks so much. It's good to be here, Jefferson. Yeah.
You and I have talked before. We've first met, I was doing math, it was about 20 years ago, on your first book of memoir and essay. Your background was interesting to me at that time and still is. So what brought you to Stehekin originally?
So I'm actually from Southern California, and when I was a young teenager, maybe 13, I went camping in Oregon and just fell in love with the Northwest. Just the trees, the rivers, the water, everything. I swore I'd come back. I did. I went to college in Oregon, got a degree in English, didn't know what the heck I would do with that, but sort of fell into working for the National Park Service. And at one point, very early on, I was 23 years old, I got a job sight unseen at North Cascades National Park. I had no idea you'd have to take a ferry to get there and everything else. And so I actually talked some roommates of mine in Seattle into driving me over the mountains to drop me off. Couldn't find a place to camp and ended up camping by the, illegally in an orchard by the river, what is now BB Bridge Park, and that ended up being a crucial place in my new book. But that's how I landed. I worked for the Park Service. I kind of landed in Stehekin and stayed, although I've come and gone from there a lot, as you know.
And writing was a background to your life the entire time,
Yes.
even when you were doing other things. This is a pursuit for you.
Absolutely, and I can't recommend that highly enough, that I was doing physical labor, right? It's trail work for all those years, got laid off in the winter, and so my brain space when I was working, when I was walking, was mulling all those things that then in winter I would have time to write.
We talk about Pushed, the book that's out now, just came out this past year. It's based on, I don't even know if I want to call it legend. It's based on story. Tell us the story as you first heard it.
I just think of it as a story that I heard. I found it in a terrific little book called Wapato Heritage by Tom Hackenmiller, who's a Wenatchee author here. And it had a chapter that told this story, which then I heard over and over in small museums around the region and in history books, which is essentially that they called it the Chelan Falls Massacre, and that 300 Chinese miners had been pushed, hence the title, off of a cliff, murdered, and dumped into the Columbia River. The perpetrators, according to the story, were Native people, indigenous people, and that was about it. That was all there was. And I thought, surely 300 people died. There's got to be more than that. And sort of foolishly, ignorantly thought it would be easy to chase down the truth, and it was not. Yeah.
So when you were exploring this a little bit, there were different locations where this might have happened.
Right.
What were some of the possible scenes of the crime?
Well, I would, if people are familiar with the area, I would stand, BB Bridge Park is where the merchant, the Chinese merchant of the title, had a store. So it was almost like a village. There were gardens, and there were stables, and there was a boat launch, and all of that. So standing from there, the story is that it was about a mile from there. Weren't sure about upriver or downriver, thought about some spots, and then it seemed as though maybe up the Chelan River, maybe they weren't dumped into the Columbia, but it's more of a gorge, you know, down into the Chelan River. So that's on one side of the Chelan River. And then another thought is the BB Springs area, which is, you know, a wildlife area now, that's a possibility, but all within view of BB Bridge Park.
What you found out is that this story seemed to arise from one print source originally.
That's correct.
And it made mention of locations, it made mentions of numbers of people, it made mentions of who the perpetrators were, but it gave otherwise very little detail.
Right.
We don't really know time of year when this might have happened.
Nothing.
We don't know exactly if the perpetrators were indigenous, which tribes they might have represented. It left a lot to your imagination, or to the imagination of the person telling the story.
Right, exactly, and trying to parse those pieces together, parse that story and bring those pieces together was the challenge. So one thing that became clear, I think, early on, is that early reports said that they were pushed off of a cliff that was 300 feet tall, and then as the story was told, like a game of telephone, that became 300 victims. Now, I think something happened. I think there were a lot of victims. I'm not sure there were 300. I think that was conflated with that number of 300 feet. And otherwise, you know, again, who did it? There are long-standing stories, rumors. People who have relatives who are ancestors who are settlers will say it was white people dressed up as Indians, as indigenous people. Not uncommon in the history of the U.S. I mean, even the Boston Tea Party, they dressed up for various reasons. So that became another story. And then, as you kind of started to allude, it became possible that maybe this writer of the 1891 article for the Spokane Review at the time, maybe he made it up. Maybe there was a reason to make up the story or to repeat a story that floated around, right, and put it in print. But details missing, for sure.
Some things that you did find out, you make clear that even if this massacre was not a real event, or even if it was an event that was inaccurately described, it's not as if it was unprecedented. There were many, many other mass murders of Chinese in Northwest history.
That was among the things that really surprised me, that I didn't know. I didn't even know about the history of Chinese folks in our region. They outnumbered white settlers 2 to 1 in the early years, in the late 1800s. So I didn't know about that. There are documented massacres in Los Angeles, in Wyoming, in Eureka, California, in the Dalles, all over our region. In Tacoma, they were you know, pushed out, expelled, pushed off of the docks, and there was a recent opera about that. So these stories are coming to the surface. There was one in Hell's Canyon, Oregon, that a reporter, Greg Noakes from the Oregonian, uncovered and actually found documentation where the men who committed this massacre wrote about it. So I had high hopes that I'd be Greg Noakes and I would find these kind of documents. I have not yet. But there is definitely a long history of violence and oppression of the Chinese in the early history of the Northwest, of our region in particular.
And your title, Pushed, sort of also alludes to social exercises like the Exclusion Acts.
Correct.
Which were designed at the federal level to push Chinese out of the Northwest Territories, push and keep them from coming back in.
Exactly, yeah. And to be clear, the Exclusion Act did not say they all had to leave. But if they left, which they did to go see their families, as immigrants will do, they could not come back in. And then new immigrants were kept from coming in. It was sort of the beginning of those kind of policies in our country. The first time that they tried to control a border, they were controlling the border with Canada so that Chinese wouldn't come in that way. Boats in the Salish Sea, and then and trying to somehow control this border here in eastern Washington as well. But yeah, they were pushed in so many ways. Heavy taxation, even the city of Wenatchee, when it was first being incorporated, they passed a law excluding Chinese people from living in the city. And in one of the hopeful stories or inspiring stories in my research, there was one man, Noah Brown, who stood up at that meeting and said, no, this was unjust, that they shouldn't do it, but they did it anyway. So all kinds of history that I just did not know.
From reading your book, it seems like when you were studying this history and asking people about it, sometimes you got into uncomfortable territory with people. Sometimes people would take a kind of affront at having their version of the history questioned.
Sure, and people hang on to history, right? They hang on to the stories they've been told. A historian friend of mine, Larry Sabula, a bit tongue-in-cheek, he told me early on in my research, he said, well, people love their massacres. I thought, well, what the heck is he talking about? But it's true that there are some stories in the American West of massacres that didn't even happen, but locals believe them for whatever reason they want to believe them, because it characterizes their ancestors in a certain way, or characterizes the settling of West in a certain way. They want to believe that happened. And if you think about the Chelan Falls Massacre, there are all kinds of reasons to believe what you want to believe. If indigenous people did it, then perhaps that villainizes them. No matter who did it, it can explain why there are no Chinese, or very, very few in our region now. Often when I would be talking to people who know a lot about the history, I'd say, well, what happened to all the Chinese? And they'd say, well, do you know about the massacre? And that's not going to be the whole story, right, no matter what. That you didn't kill them all and push them off of a cliff. But you can see why a story becomes useful in the way you want to understand a history. And I tried really hard, I think you know from reading the book, to honor all of the ways that people tell the story and why they tell it the way that they do.
And you do explore the actual history, the known history of Chinese merchants in this area.
Right.
You uncover people, maybe more than one person, who fit the bill for who was this merchant who had this shop near the scene of the massacre. You also do a lot of traveling. You go from Stehekin all the way up the Okanagan Valley to Chisaw, also named after a Chinese American.
The only town in the United States named after a Chinese American, if you can believe it, tiny Chisaw.
Anna Maria, how did you become interested in doing research into historical events? Because you started off doing personal essays and essays on topics that interested you. So how did it come to you to become kind of a detective in matters like this?
I think you'll remember there was a book early in my career I had heard, it was a similar process to this, that I had heard a rumor about a family story about my dad's involvement in the early civil rights movement in Florida. And I really wanted to find out the truth of that story. And so with no journalistic background, no training like you have, I just dove into it and looked for the people who were involved with him, got to know those people, looked for the story. There were many versions of the story of his involvement of a particular bus boycott in Tallahassee, Florida. And that was so fascinating, to meet these people, to hear their stories, to realize how eager people are to tell their stories, to dig into it and figure out how to tell a story like that. Was so fascinating to me. I'd always loved, narrative nonfiction like John McPhee, or books like, The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks by Rebecca Skloot. I love those kind of books, and I like the challenge of trying to put the stories together. I'm also really passionate. A lot of people say, look, you couldn't figure out the truth of this story. Why didn't you write it as historical fiction? And I am just really passionate about the truth. Like, what is the story, and why do we tell stories as, quote, nonfiction the way we do? And so as much as I'm exploring the truth of this story, I'm also really interested in the way the stories are told and being able to try to flesh those out in book form.
You've been teaching writing at various colleges for a number of years now, and this year you're at Wenatchee Valley College.
I am.
So splitting your time between here and Stehekin. So what advice do you give your students there on writing well?
I think I tell them first and foremost, like, to write what they're passionate about, right? If you're bored, your readers are going to be bored. You know, find something that you're interested in. And I think a lot of times they're surprised that if they're interested in car mechanics, why not write about car mechanics, right? If they're interested in horses, write about horses. So that's the first thing. And then to find different ways to tell the story. There's not just one way to tell a story. You know, to use all the tools in your toolbox to make it interesting to you, to make it interested to the reader. And of course, you know, they're constantly teaching me new things with their approaches and their enthusiasms, and the conversations I have with them, I'm sure, will spur more work.
There's a presentation on Thursday, February 22nd at Wenatchee River Institute in Leavenworth. You'll be there. Your book will be there as the topic of conversation. It's going to be both in person and live stream on YouTube. What do you expect at that event? Will you be doing a reading?
I will read some, and then I've found that visuals with this book are really helpful, so I'll be showing some slides of both the area where the massacre supposedly took place and then some old drawings of Chinese miners, Chinese workers. I think those visuals in this case are really helpful to bringing that history to life. So there will be some slides, some reading, some conversation, hopefully a lively Q&A. There often is when this book is discussed.
Happy Valentine's, Wenatchee Valley. Collins Fashions is your one-stop shop for Valentine's gifts. Beautifully designed bright jewelry and handbags, new heart necklaces and earrings, and red sparkly earrings and charms too. Collins has started their great winter sale with sweaters, jackets, tops, boots, all at 50% off. We have new spring merchandise from French dressing, tribal, etc. And traveling to a warm climate, we have Jam's World, Tommy Bahama, David Klein are perfect for your trip. All at Collins Fashions in downtown Wenatchee.
Are you dealing with a pest or weed issue and you just don't know what to do?
We use the best pest control methods approved for areas with kids and pets.
Whether it's rats, mice, ants, or spiders,
or something else altogether, we provide the coaching and solutions you're looking for.
And you can know that your dollars are supporting a local, family-owned and operated business.
Allow us to help you get back to living healthy and pest-free. Harvest Valley Pest Control.
Hey folks, Lehman here with Crown Furniture and Mattress. Folks, there's no question if you're looking for top quality furniture and mattresses, Crown Furniture and Mattress is the place for you. Whether it's Flex Steel's patented blue steel spring, Englander's 120 years of innovation, or Stan's incredible comfort. Folks, we have it all. So stop by and see us today at 736 South Wenatchee Avenue.
The new Hummer EV is everything you want in an all-electric vehicle. It's powerful, reliable, comfortable, and will take you anywhere you want to go, on-road or off. Why buy one of those lesser EVs when you can have one that uses them for traction? Order your Hummer pickup or SUV today from Sangster Motors, batteries included.
And we are back. Still a few high clouds hanging around, but they're going to be 86 in themselves out of here. We're in for a very nice day today. Right now it's 32 degrees, so we haven't really moved at all since the show began at 7 o'clock this morning, if in fact you're watching the live edition of this program. A couple of slides for the National Weather Service. So we got two systems kind of doing a little battle. We got a high pressure ridge off the coast of British Columbia, and we have a low pressure ridge off the Oregon coast. Eventually the high pressure ridge to the northwest is going to get the better part of this deal. In the meantime, it could make things just a little breezy. Certainly going to cool us down. We got some cold air coming our way, but little wind overnight tonight as the clouds begin to thicken up. Today is the day with the sunshine, and then as the clouds thicken up, the chance of snow increases quite a bit. We could see some snow late Wednesday afternoon, overnight. Wednesday night into Thursday, maybe an inch overnight Wednesday night while you're sleeping. You'll wake up to a little bit of light snow on Thursday. All things considered, probably an inch. We could get up to a couple of inches of snow when it's all said and done as this system begins to roll through. The big impact is definitely going to be our temperatures. Our normal high is 41. We're going to be above that today with 43. And again, quite a bit of sunshine, 29 for the overnight low tonight. The clouds will be rolling in. As you are visiting the Sandman, you're going to wake up tomorrow morning with clouds and they're not going anywhere. with a high of 36 as we get deeper into the day on Wednesday, especially late in the afternoon, early evening. That's when we start seeing an increasing chance of snow, about a 40% chance of snow overnight Wednesday night with a low of 28. And then Thursday morning, a little bit of light snow and still cooler, high of only 35. On Thursday, that's that big cool down with that cold, dry air coming in, and then we warm back up gradually by the time we get to the weekend. And that's it for us. Have yourself a great Tuesday. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Celebrating one of our smallest fruits.
Welcome to Cranberry Fest.
The costumes and the contests.
The royalty and the rainstorm.
So the big parade is supposed to start soon, but will it go on? And our search for the tastiest
cranberry deep fried
cranberry treat
cran orange creamsicle
ever created.
Worth the wait in line.
That is worth the wait.